caloric density. It's just a straightforward idea. How many calories are packed into a certain amount of food? You see, the lower the caloric density, the more you can eat without piling on the calories. And that is the secret to feeling full. To make this really clear, let's break it down on a simple scale.
All right, first up, we've got the green zone. I want you to think of these as the foundation of your plate. These are the foods you can and probably should eat a ton of without even thinking twice about it.
Foods in this zone are incredibly low in caloric density. We're talking only about 100 calories per pound. To put that into perspective, that is a huge amount of food for so few calories. This is really the secret weapon for feeling full and satisfied without ever worrying about overeating.
So, what kind of food are we talking about here? Well, it's all the good stuff. Leafy greens, your spinach and kale. Vegetables like broccoli and peppers. Most fruits. And the reason they're so low in calories is because they are just jam-packed with water, fiber, and nutrients. All that stuff gives you a ton of volume, which physically fills up your stomach and sends that "I'm full" signal to your brain.
Okay, let's move up the scale to what we'll call the middle ground. I like to think of these as the energizers. These are the foods that give you that steady, long-lasting fuel that powers you through your day.
And right away, you can see a pretty big jump in caloric density. We're up to about 500 to 600 calories per pound now. Yeah, that's a big increase from the green zone, but these foods are still absolutely loaded with nutrients and are a super important part of a balanced diet.
This category is home to things like beans, lentils, and whole grains. They are just fantastic sources of complex carbs and protein that give you that slow, steady release of energy. No quick spikes and crashes here. A pretty good rule of thumb, aim to have about a quarter of your plate filled with these energizing foods.
And now, we arrive at the red zone. These are the foods where calories are highly, highly concentrated. Now, this does not mean they're bad foods, not at all. It just means a small portion packs a really big caloric punch. So being aware is the name of the game here.
So what's living in the red zone? Well, think about processed grains, things like crackers and pastries. They come in at around 1,000 calories per pound. And cheese? Whoa, that's even higher, at about 1,700 calories per pound. You know that little sprinkle you put on your pasta? It adds up way faster than you think.
But believe it or not, neither of those gets the top prize on our scale. The most calorie-dense food of all is something many of us use every single day, probably without giving it a second thought.
So take a guess. Just think about it for a second. Where would you put something like olive oil on this scale of calories per pound?
Get ready for this. An incredible 4,000 calories per pound. That's right, 4,000. Oils are, by a massive margin, the most calorically dense food that we eat. It is literally pure, concentrated energy.
And this is just the perfect illustration of the whole concept. To bring that giant number back down to earth, a single tablespoon of oil has about 120 calories. But here's the kicker. It has 0 fiber, 0 water, so it does absolutely nothing to make you feel full. It just adds calories.
But hang on. Before we write off the red zone completely, there's a really important distinction we have to make. Because not all high-density foods are created equal. Let's talk about the very special case of nuts and seeds.
If you just look at the numbers, they are planted firmly in the red zone. They clock in at a whopping 2,800 calories per pound. I mean, that's higher than cheese, it's higher than most processed foods. But there's a critical difference.
And this is where we have to separate two key ideas. While both processed foods and nuts are high in caloric density, nuts and seeds are also incredibly high in nutrient density. And honestly, that's a total game changer.
You see, they're delivering all this amazing stuff. Valuable protein, fiber, healthy fats, even things like omega-3s and antioxidants. So here's the main takeaway. Nuts and seeds are fantastic for your health. But because they are so calorie-dense, being mindful of your portions is absolutely essential. A small handful is really all you need.
So how in the world do we take all of this and actually use it in our daily lives? Well, it's all about creating a simple sense of balance on your plate using these exact principles.
This quote really just says it all, doesn't it? The whole point of this isn't about restriction, it's about abundance. When you focus on these low-density foods, you give yourself permission to eat big, generous, satisfying meals that actually support your health in the long run.
Here's a super simple 3-step way to build your plate. Step 1, fill up most of your plate with all those awesome green zone foods, your veggies and fruits. Step 2, add a portion of those middle ground energizers, like your grains and beans. And finally, step 3,
Use those high-density red zone foods sparingly, almost like a garnish for flavor and their unique nutrient.
So I'll leave you with this one question. Now that you have this understanding of caloric density, what's one little change, one simple swap you could make on your own plate? Maybe it's adding a big handful of spinach to your pasta, or maybe it's just using half the oil next time you sauté something. It's those small, informed choices that, over time, make the biggest impact.